Blog Talk Radio. Welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. This is episode 35. I'm your host, Christy Rosario, here in Los Angeles, California. My co-host is Richard Solomon, the boxing prophet all the way in New York City, and it is his birthday today. Hey, happy birthday, Prophet.
Thank you. Appreciate the kind words.
I'd sing for you, but I told you if I sing, nobody's going to listen. So happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I just can't believe how cold it is in New York. Freezing outside.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sitting here in shorts, so that's too bad. All right, we'll get back to you in a minute. We have live callers. If you'd like, call 347-324-5998. You can Twitter us at Real Combat Media. My Twitter is at BoxingGirl, BXINGIRL, or Boxing Prophet at Boxing Prophet 68. You can find us on Facebook at Real Combat Media in the search bar. Also, right after the show, you can still listen again and again on iTunes, YouTube, Blog Talk Radio, and RealCombatMedia.com. Our topics for this episode are the recaps of Martirosyan versus Andrade, Garcia versus Martinez, and Darchinian versus Donaire. We will also preview this weekend's HBO Championship showdown between Andre Ward and Edwin Rodriguez. Later in the show, we have world-class professional referee judge, Mr. Jack Reiss, and NABF welterweight title holder, Jesus Soto Karass, who will be facing undefeated Keith Thurman in his fight next week, December 14th, December 14th. It's about a few weeks away for the WBA welterweight title. But up first, one of the most recognized boxers today and 2012 Olympic bronze medalist, Marlen Esparza. Marlen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm good.
Good. Thanks for coming on the show. I know you said you just stopped working out about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Thanks for having me. Good, actually. I do about 3 days, so I just finished my second session. Right now, I work at 1:30 to about 4 o'clock, and I just hopped on the phone with you. I'm actually in the office, still all sweaty and gross. So.
You're not sweaty and gross, but you may feel that way. I understand. But, now you're here in Northern California, right? You flew out from Texas to train out here now?
Well, actually, I flew out from Colorado, so I'm originally always been from Texas, but I moved to the Olympic Training Center about 2 months ago and been living there at the Olympic Training Center, and I actually moved. I came down here for about 2-3 weeks. I flew in yesterday to get in and work out here because these were my original trainers that I was working with for a while, for about a year now. Wanted to come back and kind of feel things out, say hi as much as I could whenever I can. So I'm here just for training.
That's nice. And now you were at the Olympic Training Center. The national coach is Pedro. He's originally from Cuba. How is that going with your training over there?
It's really good. He's actually very smart, technical, and he doesn't really speak a lot of English either. But in boxing, I figured out you don't really have to speak too much English. You tend to get slapped around if you don't do something right. But he's very, very good, and I'm really happy with him. I'm learning a lot, and I feel like I'm improving. So far, so good, and I really don't have too many complaints when it comes to Pedro.
That's good. How's everything else, though, living at the Olympic Training Center? And are you enjoying yourself? Are they treating you well?
Yeah, they're treating me really well, and it's good. At first, I was a little intimidated by the idea because it's like I was like, it's going to be super boring, and I just didn't feel like it would be something that I could get used to. But I'm actually really used to it already, and since I'm like 24 and I kind of can do whatever I want, it's a little bit good to feel like I'm a little kid again and the people are telling me what to do. So a little bit of more structure. So it's working out for me, and usually I'm just sleeping and training. So half the time I'm so tired I can't really do anything if I wanted to. So I'm really happy with the situation of being there, and everyone's really nice, and the food's amazing, so can't really go wrong.
The food is amazing. I used to love when we went there and we got to go to that cafeteria. They have everything. It's not typical, is it?
No, it's not, and it's like so good. Sometimes I have to be careful because I will like overdose on everything I see. So, yeah, the food's really good. I can't complain. Every day there's something good. So that's a little dangerous.
It's very dangerous. Too good. Now, do you have any trouble making 112?
No, I mean, not anything crazy for sure. I can always eat all the way up to the fight. Sometimes I have to watch a little bit more carefully how much I consume, but I really don't ever have to like dry out or do anything like above and beyond than a usual boxer. I would say I don't struggle as much as anybody else because I was originally a 106, and I just settled into a 112-pound slot where I could say I can walk around and I'm an original 112-pounder. So it's not too hard for me though. I don't get too big. I don't get any more than 8 pounds over 112. So usually with all the hard work and all the training, it kind of comes off by itself. So I wouldn't say I have too much trouble now.
Well, that's good. Gosh, you are like one of the few that has trouble with the weight. I'm telling you. After talking to all these fighters, it's hard. And
yeah,
congratulations.
I know it is hard. Thank you.
It is. And congratulations, because you just won the PAL. I was there at the National PAL. How did you feel over there at that event?
I felt good. I felt good. It was my first time at a PAL tournament. So in all my time of boxing, I have never competed in PALs because it's so late in the year. And usually by that time, we have already had like all the tournaments plus probably like one or two international. So when it comes around PAL, I usually am not. I no longer care to compete. So I kind of always blow through it. But this time around, things got changed up in my schedule, and I hadn't really thought too much. So we decided to go ahead and go up there, and my schedule was actually crazy. I actually had to fly in and out of the tournament and just got really lucky with the way the brackets were set up to actually give a speech and then fly back in and compete the next day, which wasn't fun. I was jet lagged. But as far as the tournament and everything, the way it played out, I felt really good, and I felt really good with what I'm doing. I wasn't 100% happy with my performance, but I was happy with my improvement. So I feel that there's still a lot to go, but I'm happy with where it's going so far.
Well, that's what counts, that you're happy with your improvement, and it must have been really hard. So who set up your schedule that you had to fly in and out like that? USA Boxing?
Well, no, it was my managers actually set up my schedule, and it was going to get to the point where if it didn't play out the way I needed it to, I didn't think there was going to be a lot of people at PAL because, first of all, even at National, which is the biggest tournament, I didn't have a lot of people in my bracket. So I knew it was going to be a really rare chance that there was going to be a lot of people at 112 for the PALs. I figured there would be probably one or two, and that's pretty much what it was. I think there was like 4 or something like that. And so I didn't fight till like the last 2 days, and I had to fight, and then I flew out, and then I fought again. And then I fought in the finals. And my managers had set it up like months in advance. And then I didn't know I was fighting at PAL. So once I got to PAL, Pedro was like, let's just get you in the tournament, see what the brackets look like. And if you have to leave and you can't fight, then you have to leave and you can't fight. So we were even going to fight. And if I had to fight, if the brackets were set up to where I had to fight when I had to be gone, I was just going to lose my fight on walkover because there was no way that I could get out of the engagement that I had already scheduled it prior to PAL. So we were kind of just hoping, and God kind of was like helping me out a little bit with the way everything went. So I was happy about it.
Yeah, you ended up fighting twice, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I fought twice. I think I fought. I don't want to say for sure, but I think I fought like on a Wednesday and then a Saturday, or a Thursday and then a Saturday.
That's right. Yeah, you had some good fights, too. It wasn't like you got in there in any easy fights. You know, I remember I was judging, and we had 3 rings, just so everybody knows. And then Marlen was in the far ring. I was in the middle ring, and I was trying to watch because you were actually boxing, is it Virginia Fuchs? I don't want to say her name wrong, right? Virginia Fuchs?
Yeah, Virginia Fuchs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Virginia Fuchs, right. And that was quite competitive, wasn't it, as far as I could see at the end?
Yeah, actually, I think the last round was probably her best round, and I had a really close fight with her actually at the Nationals. So we kind of worked a lot on her style and what she does, just in case I had to fight her. And they don't seat at the PAL, so I had to fight her before I fought her in the finals. So she's ranked number 2, I'm ranked number 1. And leading up, I figured, I'd probably catch her in the finals, but they don't seat, so I fought her first. And I did way better this time than I did the first time. I would say it was 3-1. So I would say I won the first 2 rounds, and I would give away the last one if I had to, for sure. But it wasn't as bad as the PALs. It wasn't as bad as the Nationals. The Nationals, I would say, was probably one of the closest fights I've had in the United States for a really long time. But she's a really awkward fighter for me. Styles make fights. She doesn't give up easily. She's left-handed. She can go forward and kind of move around if she needs to. So something about her style just doesn't. It's a little aggravating for me and what I'm used to. So she's definitely a good fighter, though, and she's gonna be probably my biggest problem in the United States, probably up until the games.
Yeah, she is. She's very good, and it was very competitive, and she must be so frustrated by you. So yeah, I know she's going to be watching your tapes, Marlen. But let's explain to everyone when you say seeding, which Marlen means is that when you're at a national tournament, since Marlen is number 1, Virginia's number 2. They would put them in opposite brackets and then would end up if they both won, in the finals. But since they had no brackets, they fought each other first. Does that sound right, Marlen?
Right. Yeah, that's perfect. Explained perfectly.
Right. So, all right. Well, we have to go back to the Olympics with you because that is amazing. You were in the inaugural Olympics. You got a bronze medal, which is awesome. I know not what you wanted, but you should feel proud. And how did you feel knowing that, okay, I'm at the Olympics? How was that?
It's funny the way it worked out for me. It kind of hit me maybe twice hard. But before that, I think I had spent so much of my life every single day, like literally every day, at least it flashed in my mind at least, 3-4 times. I'm doing this class to get to the games. I'm doing this class to get to the games. And so even after I made the Olympic team and after I was already in and even getting into the village, my mindset hadn't settled down on the fact that I was there already and I could kind of calm it down. I was like, my mind was still spinning and still going. And the first time it actually hit me was whenever I was walking into my first fight. I walked into the venue and you go through this tunnel of lights and you walk and all of a sudden it's just like an eruption of people and lights and TV and it's totally decked out and it was crazy. And I look up and I see myself walking. And I just remember seeing my bandana and what my body was doing. I think I was throwing punches walking up to the ring, but I didn't even know I was doing it. So I wasn't all there. And I think that then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm at the Olympics. Something that should have hit me at least a month in advance hit me while I was walking into my first fight. So that wasn't a fun experience, but it was always something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. So. It was cool. It was a good feeling for sure after, and even the medal too. Yeah, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it wasn't my time, obviously, and I can get it this time coming around. So I'm actually a little bit more content with my situation than I was right after the game. But being there for the United States at that, being there for my country and doing something for the first time in the sport that I gave my entire life to. It has to be the best feeling I could possibly ask for.
Oh, it's amazing. Even listening to you, I get just goosebumps because it's there was only 3 weight classes: 112, 132, 165. you got the bronze at 112. We got the gold with Clarissa Shields at 165, and then Queen Underwood at 132 was an Olympian. So it's like fantastic. And I hate to say that none of the men out of 10 weight classes medaled, even though they're fantastic boxers themselves. But I mean, wow! And I am so impressed that you're going to stay for until 2016 in Rio. I love that you want to go back to the Olympics and get that gold, Marlen.
Yeah, it was something I wasn't going to, I'm a really stubborn person at times, which I'm learning to kind of stray away from. I guess I'm getting older and realizing that things are not always going to go my way. And I had this master plan that I was going to get a gold medal, and then I was going to stop boxing. I was going to go to school and kind of just somewhat be normal. And it did not play out that way for me at all. And I was going to stop boxing anyway because I wanted to stay with my plan regardless of the medal. And I just couldn't do it. I was really sad for a long time. I was in myself. I'm usually more of an upbeat kind of always doing something, always excited about doing something new. And I wasn't like that anymore and didn't really know why. And my sister was like, maybe it's because you're not at the gym every day like you are usually. And it made a lot of sense to me, and I realized that it was probably something that I shouldn't give up on since I've invested so much time, and there's nothing really stopping me from continuing. I mean, I have every possible, everything I need, I have it. All the support I need, even financially and even the people around me. So there wasn't really any reason to not continue doing what I want to do besides the fact that I was just being stubborn with myself. So I kind of let it go and decided to just give it one more run around and see what happens. This time probably a little bit more relaxed than last time.
Yeah, and now you are still sponsored, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. So you have McDonald's, Coke, Nike, CoverGirl, Procter & Gamble. I think you mentioned maybe Skittles. Did I forget anything or add anything?
Yeah. Well, we're still working on the idea with Wrinkly. So that's a new one. But so far, everything is still connected except with McDonald's. McDonald's got let go in December. So everything else is still...
what I need to understand here is, you are the only one, I have to say, men, women, anybody, Clarissa Shields got the gold medal. You're the only one that you saw commercials, you see you're sponsored by all these. Why is it, Marlen? What are you doing different?
I guess there's just a lot of technical things that a lot of people don't realize, the situation. Clarissa Shields, for example, I think that she should have a lot more of anything, really. It doesn't really have to be endorsements, but just deals, licensing deals, anything. But so the leading up to the games, I was signed with a few endorsements, about a year or two before the games. As soon as they let us in 2010, I signed with Nike. A little bit after that, I signed with Coke. So the reason wasn't really the gold medal or the Olympic team period. It was kind of I had already paid my dues to the sport prior to the games. So when companies were looking at the fact that women's boxing was in, what American is doing well, you look me up or you talk to USA Boxing, and I was beating everybody on the number of national championships. I hadn't lost in the United States in 9 years before 2011. So I had kind of paid my dues and kind of put my name out there. So they grabbed me, and it was kind of like a domino effect on that. And even after that, I had managers and public relations, and, I tried to sell myself a lot, tried to embrace media, don't really push it away, open up myself a lot more than I was used to. I wanted to be a more private person. I wanted to not talk about everything that was going on in my life 100% of the time. But if that's something you want, if you want to be endorsed and you want people to pay attention to you or have that likability counter component, then you really have to accept the fact that you're going to have to let yourself out there, and you have to talk about everything and be really open to the media, be really open to people. And a lot of people don't realize that part of it. It's a lot of work for a little bit. You invest so much of yourself and your energy towards people and towards media that you actually only get a small percentage of that back. So you have to put in a lot of work to kind of get to that point. It took a lot of effort and a lot of energy to kind of get where I am, and I still I'm still going. I mean, I was leading up to being in California. I literally went from Colorado to Austin, to New York, and then to Austin again, and then back here. And that was within a period of like 4 days, and that was all for work. And so you just have you have to do things. You just have to get out there and talk to people. And not every time you're going to be making money. Sometimes you're going to be losing money. But it's just something you need to do to kind of reach out to people and have people reach out to you.
Well, you're very smart. I was listening to an interview where you were talking about how, you are the brand. You have to get out there. You pay attention to who's fighting, when they're fighting, what Al Heyman's signing, who they're signing. That's very smart. I've asked a few, like you hear women all the time saying, we're not getting enough, we're not getting enough. I've asked a few women, one totally flaked on me, or two flaked on me, and another one said they'll come on sometime. Every world-class fighter male that I've asked, except for one, has been here right away. So kudos to you. I think that's very smart, Marlen.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's either big things or small things, and that's actually funny that you bring that little aspect about it up. But that's one of the big things that you have to do. If you say you're going to do something, you have to do it, because that gets around. You can't flake on people. If you promise something, you have to come through with it, because all you really have anymore is, like, your word. So if you say that you're going to do something, you want to be dependable. There's been lots of times where I set something up. Like, I was just telling you about the PAL tournament. I had set this up, like, 3 months in advance. And I wanted so bad to be like, I can't go, I can't show up, I want to fight. But that's not the way my life works anymore. Would I love to choose boxing first? But sometimes, like, I signed my name on a piece of paper that said I was going to be there. So I have to be there, and that's just the way it works. And that's why I would say I have what I have. It's like a win and lose. So you don't get everything you want all the time anymore, but you get everything that you need. So that's definitely a big part of it. You say you're going to do something, you definitely need to follow through.
I respect that, and that's perfect for little boys and girls that are looking at you as a role model, because you can keep that in any part of your life to keep your word. I appreciate that. But I want to change a little bit, because we are having such a long, great interview, and I want to ask you, I really loved it. I'm a big supporter of the ESPN magazine, The Body Issue, because all of you look beautiful, and it was really tasteful. But knowing you is, I don't know you so well, but knowing you and meeting your dad, I was so surprised. Tell me what you thought when they first asked you to do this.
Well, you know me pretty well. You have known since I was about 16, so you know me pretty well. And so you know my dad, and my dad knows you, and kind of one of the biggest parts of my life. So I would say you know me, but it was hard to say yes to that, and I actually did have to ask permission first. I'm 24, but I did ask him permission first. They actually approached me through the writer of USA Boxing. They reached out to USA Boxing, Julie Goldsticker, and she came up to me at the national tournament, which I think was in April, and they asked if I would be interested in doing the body issue. And I had told Julie, I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. She's like, let's just look at the website really quick. So we literally looked it up in the middle of, like, the first or second day of nationals while people were fighting. And I was like, no, like, I just can't. My dad will kill me, and I just can't do it. And she was like, well, why don't you ask them for permission? Why don't you hear them out? So I talked to them on the phone for about 30 minutes. And then the very next day, my dad flew in for my fight. And after I fought, on the way back to the hotel, I asked him in the car because he was happy that I had won. And he said no at first. I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. And I told him that it was tasteful. There was nothing wrong with it. And it's about, like, the celebration of, like, body. And I kind of told him, like, come on, Dad, this is a really big deal. And you're going to have to take one for the team. Like, you're going to have to just say yes and be okay, because it's really not that bad if you just look at the issue. And he looked at the issue. And he said that, he was like, you're a grown-up and you've never done anything wrong. You never made really bad decisions. So if you think that it's something that's going to help you in your career and, what you're looking to do and accomplish, then go ahead and do it. And, don't mind me or don't do it don't not participate in on my behalf. So I went ahead and did it, and he was cool with it. He even, like, got a magazine and stuff, so he wasn't too upset once it came out, but he wasn't really thrilled about it before. I don't think he knew how it was going to turn out, but when he saw the pictures, he was cool with it. He wasn't upset.
And how about you? Because you seem pretty modest to me. Were you uncomfortable at first, or did they make you just feel real comfortable?
Well, they promised me that they would make me feel really comfortable because they had told me that when we talked that I could have a clothes set, and what they would do is with the nude bra and underwear, I would do like shots. So move around the ring, hit the bag, do whatever I need to do. And then once we saw positioning with the lighting and everything the way we wanted it, then I would take everything off. Well, when I got there, it was a closed set, so there wasn't, too many people. But one of the girls who they didn't bring any of the nude underwear or bra because they didn't know. That message wasn't relayed. So I had to do everything and all the positioning and all the posing without any clothes on. So, yeah, it was awkward. It was awkward. For about the first 2 hours, I felt extremely weird. And then after a while, I was in there for 6 hours. So after a while,
wow.
I kind of was just like, can we please just, get this shot because I'm so tired. And I was hungry because, they don't Photoshop a lot in that magazine, and they let you know right away. So I had to, I felt like I had just, made weight for, a fight. I was, still fighting. So I wasn't happy. I was a little frustrated, and I wanted to put clothes on and eat food. So I was kind of just whatever, just get the shot. And it turned from being embarrassed and totally uncomfortable to kind of just, okay, whatever, it is what it is. And kind of just, I felt if I were to relax and just get it done, then it would be a lot quicker than feeling weird and looking all tight and uncomfortable.
Wow. I'm surprised. I'm really impressed. It came out beautiful, Marlen. You didn't look uptight. The pictures are great. And, anyone I ever see online, if they say anything bad about it, I'm the first one to jump in and say, it's just very tasteful. I think it's, celebrating the body. All the athletes look great. Are you proud of it?
Yeah, no, I think it's funny because it was one of the hardest decisions I've actually made. Even before they came out with the magazine and I had already shot the shoot, I was actually thinking to myself, I really hope that I don't regret, doing this at all. I really hope. And I was a little bit nervous about it. But once it came out and, my heart was pounding when they sent out the first release of it, because they wouldn't let me see it before it came out. They said they don't let athletes see it before it comes out. So I was my heart was pounding. I was okay, great. Let me try to open it. And when I opened it, I was so happy. I was so happy. My favorite one is the bag one. A lot of people like the one when I'm in the ring. But my favorite one is when I'm hitting the bag. I love that picture, and everything and anything about it. So I'm extremely happy with it. I think it's probably one of the best things I've ever done, best decisions I've ever made, and I'm extremely happy with it.
No, I think all the pictures came out beautiful. What do you think, Prophet? Did you see the photo?
Oh.
I'm afraid to ask. What do you think?
As a male, you can't go wrong with any of the pictures, to be honest with you. But I kind of agree with Marlen. I actually like the one where she was hitting the bag better than the one she was in the ring. I agree with her.
Yeah, that picture is awesome.
I thought you would agree. Yes,
I wanted to ask her just a couple of questions real quick, and then I'll throw you back to Christy. What really upsets me, Marlen, is that when boxing fans all over the world talk about the 2012 Olympic team, they always talk about how it was the first time ever, or maybe the first time in a while, that no male fighter ever, medaled. But they don't talk about how you brought home the bronze and Christy brought home the gold medal. In the back of your mind, of course, you're always rooting for your fellow Americans to succeed. But do you ever feel like, we got severely, underlooked, and, it serves the men right? Because, Christy and I have been advocating to add more women's weight classes. And here the men didn't even medal, and 2 out of the 3 girls took home medals. If anything, there should be a direct message to the U.S. Olympic Committee to maybe add more females to the boxing squad with each, success story that you hear. Well, what do you think? It's kind of it's kind of hard to root against your male teammates, but what went through the back of your mind when not one male fighter took home a medal, and you and Clarissa did so well.
I was, it was a catch-22, so I was upset because those were people that I knew well and I rooted for, and it's kind of like male or female when you're around someone and they work hard and you see what they have to go through, and you see their good days and you see their bad days, and you guys are pushing each other on runs, and you see them when they're not eating. It's regardless of the gender, you have that bond with them that if you win, I win because I saw you go through it and I lived it with you. And it's this connection that you get with somebody that you can't really explain because you guys did something together, you worked together. So it was really, really bad. I was super upset with the guys, the way some of them, to be honest, they got ripped off. Some of them just totally gave up on themselves and didn't do what they were supposed to do at all. Some of them had really close fights, and then some of them just lost. So it was just upsetting. It was just a whirlwind of upset. But at the end, when me and Clarissa did medal and it turned out that the guys didn't, I thought, I was like, well, it sucks that the guys didn't medal, but they're always going to have their chance. This is, still going to be a male-dominated sport for a very long time and probably will be forever. But I figured, at least it'll look good on us because we'll at the very least get 2 more weight classes, like you were saying. I figured, this is going to show that we're doing well and that we're owning up to what we're supposed to be. And because of this and because of what me and Clarissa did, and even Queen getting in 3 out of 3 into the Olympics, that just shows right there that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. I figured at the very least they would add 2 more weight classes, and I was extremely surprised when they didn't. And that's all. That's really all I feel about that. I feel like we should have had 2 more weight classes. I think we should have had something between 112 and 132 and something between 132 and 165 at least. And I feel that we did what we were supposed to do, and I feel like all the way around, not even just in the United States, but the women's performance in the Olympic Games, I think that in all countries, in all weight classes, that we did do extremely well. We performed well. There was nothing that I could say I was upset about in the way anybody did anything wrong. A lot of people were giving Katie Taylor a hard time because she ran around the ring after her closing ceremony. But I still feel that, she did everything right on her behalf. It was, her part of the world, and she had a lot of fans there. And what else do you want more? You just accomplished your dream. So I really didn't think anybody did anything wrong, and I think they should have gave us 2 more weight classes at the least.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I don't know if it's a rumor or a fact, but a lot of amateur boxers that I speak to or that I see on social media, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, they've been saying that trainers have been going the wrong way in training the American fighters, that they're tired of training in gyms that are air-conditioned, that they'd rather go back to the old-school way of training in gyms that are very, very hot, so they perspire more and they get proper training. Is this just a rumor, or do you hear anything about this? That a lot of fighters don't like the cold; they'd rather train in hot gyms.
Yeah, I hear so many things, and I have heard that, but I think that's just like a given. Boxing's like an old school sport, and I think if you put us like in a 24-hour fitness, then it's gonna feel weird. But in the end, you can blame it on what you wanted to blame it on. It's all like a mindset. So if you think that's going to help your mindset, then that's going to help your mindset. And it's not about the trainer doing anything the wrong way, because the trainer is about technique, and the trainer is about talking to you and building a bond with you and understanding you as a fighter, so they can help you as much as they can in the most intense positions of your life. But it teaches their own, and I feel that if you put a good fighter in an air-conditioned room, or you put them in a heated room, or you put them in a heated room, that they're gonna perform the way they're supposed to perform. So there's a lot of ways. I mean, people can be particular, and it's just it's what you're comfortable with. It's what you're comfortable with and what you feel. If you started in a air-conditioned room, then you're always going to like an air-conditioned room. If you started in a hole-in-the-wall gym, in Arizona where you're sweating like nobody's business, and that's probably something you're always going to like. Depends on the fighter.
Right. And several years ago, you were part of a CNN documentary I believe it was called In Her Corner, Latino in America. Can you tell us how that went?
Yeah, in 2010, after I won nationals, I got approached by Soledad O'Brien with CNN to do, it was called In Her Corner, Latino in America, and they kind of just followed me around for 6 months is basically what they did off and on. They got every fight that I had, any major event that occurred, they came to Texas, and they pretty much just taped me, and I became really good friends with the cameraman and with the producer. I became really good friends with Soledad, and I still work with CNN as much as I can and anything that they need. And it was an hour-long documentary about my life, and I would say that it definitely helped me a substantial amount on getting where I need to be, because after that, everything was kind of just, it was just crazy. It was insane. That documentary really told a big part of my life and me getting there, and then it also recorded everything that I can't remember anymore. So it was a blessing to be put in that. And she followed me for the same exact reason, I guess, that you could say I got endorsed at the very beginning, was she looked it up. She said she had saw something on an airplane about women's boxing and kind of hit her that no one ever touches, shines light on it. And she kind of went to USA Boxing, kind of told her producers to look it up, and sure enough, the producers said that when they did that, my name would come up the most, and they talked to USA Boxing. USA Boxing kind of talked to them about me, and that's how I got connected with CNN and Soledad O'Brien.
Wow, very cool.
Good.
Okay, so you know what I want? I want to ask you, Marlen, before we go. First of all, don't you ever get tired of being called Marlen? I want to always correct everybody. It's Marlen, right? Marlen?
Yeah. I didn't. When I was younger, I used to correct people, and I used to get aggravated because I was like, "Is it really that hard? Like, it's Marlen." But after a while, I'm just like, whatever. Sometimes I don't even hear it anymore because I have a lot of people, too, that call me Marlena. I get that a lot now, Marlena. Because, like, Hispanic people want to add an A to the name. So it's like I hear a lot of Marlene and Marlena and Marlen or Marlene or I don't know, weird. I know they're talking to me, so I'm like, okay, it's cool. The Marlene still seems to bother me.
The Marlene, yeah, they want to call me Christina too, and I'm just Christy, but it's Marlen. And I have to ask you because we have soon. Jack Reiss is going to come on, and we're going to interview. And Jack was actually your referee in the Coke commercial. Do you remember that?
I'm sorry.
Marlen. Oh, sorry. Yes. Jack Reiss, we're going to interview him next, and he's the referee judge that was actually your referee in the Coke commercial. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes,
okay,
I do remember him.
He's going to come next. Was he nice? Was he fair when you were in your Coke commercial?
Yeah, he was cool. He was there for a long time with us, was bored with us. That was a long shoot to get about 30 seconds. So that's fun.
I like that commercial. Your dad was so cute. And Jack, I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm sure you were great. But Marlen, a couple questions real quick. One, I heard you're writing a book. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. I am writing a book, and we just finished the proposal, and now we're handing it out to a few editors who were already interested in the idea. And as soon as I sign with an editor, then we're going to go ahead and finish the whole thing. They said they want to finish it quickly. We already have a lot of it done, but the proposal was the thing that we were focusing on the most because we wanted to get the idea right before we start the entire book or finish the entire book. So we actually just finished the proposal probably about a month ago.
Oh, do you have a title yet, or is that just kind of a working title?
Everything's working because I'm super picky about the book. A proposal usually takes about two months or so. It actually took me a year to finish my proposal because I was so particular about the way I wanted it written and the way I wanted it to come off in the book. So the title is like an ongoing struggle because they want something in my mind that's very cliche, and they want, like, you know, fight like a girl and something that I feel like I've heard a million times over, and I don't want that at all. So we're kind of struggling with the title.
Okay. When you have your title and you're ready to, like, share the book, come back because we'd love to hear about it. One last question.
Will.
Go ahead.
I'm actually coming out with a boxer size video. So that's actually the big thing that's going on right now. It comes out that we're going to start releasing it in probably January. It's going to come out. So I'm coming out with a boxer size video, and it's going to be selling on Amazon, and then most likely Best Buy to start with is where it's going to come out, and that's kind of like the big thing that we've been working on the most right now.
Is that just called like Marlen Esparza boxer size, or do you have a certain title for that?
It's called a Power Boxing Workout.
Power Boxing. Very cool. One last question. Is Ava Knight ducking you for sparring? I know you can't, fight her because she's a pro. What's going on? I mean, I keep hearing little rumors. Who wanted to spar with who?
I wanted to spar her. It was like this, people blame me because no one knew what was going on before I made a big deal about it. But I had answered a few questions on Twitter, and I said something wrong, and she had jumped on me probably in around November, December. And then I came to San Francisco at about February, so about 3 months later after she got on to me, and was actually extremely rude. I kind of got onto her, and everybody thought that when I first initially jumped on her that they thought that was the first dispute we had ever had, so they thought I started it. But I didn't. Yeah, since I can't go pro, and I'm not going to go pro for a very long time, just especially not to justify Ava Knight. I told her, well, if we can spar and we can get it taped, and we can just do it that way so people can understand why I'm talking to you the way I'm talking to you. And she never wanted to. She decided that she wanted to say she was a professional and I was below her, but that's not far from the truth. But Ava Knight's character for sure. I kind of I started seeing. I was angry for a little bit, but I got unangry very quick when I kind of realized the kind of person that she was. Not somebody I respect at all.
Yeah, that really frustrates me because you hear that all the time. Like, I'll say, you know what, I didn't go pro. I didn't want to go pro. I won the nationals. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, just please don't people understand that anybody can be a professional. You can buy a license and you can go into the doctor, you're pro. To be an Olympian, to get a bronze medal, to win the nationals even, you have to actually win to get there. And so I get so frustrated all the time. And I'm like, come on, Ava Knight, if you want to learn a little something, go spar with Marlen, okay? Go spar. So that's what I have to say.
We had sparred 2 times prior to the argument. And I did extremely well with her on both occasions. And it was actually really easy. I thought, from the way I see the pros, because a lot of them don't have an extended amateur background. I mean, a lot of amateurs don't even have an extended amateur background when it comes to the women, because we start later, so on and so forth. And I actually felt that she was a really good fighter as far as the professionals go. I was really happy with her. I didn't think that she had a bad technique or was anything sloppy. So I actually backed her until everything happened, and she kind of disrespected me and kind of what I do, and made fun of the things I've done, and she hasn't even won a national tournament. If you put our experiences together and compare our experience, besides the fact that I've signed a paper that says I'm pro or not, I have way more experience than Ava Knight, so she can hide behind it all she wants, but I'm going to let her be her, and she probably won't even be around by the time I go pro.
Very possibly not, but maybe. But if you do the sparring, let me know. I'm going to come watch. It'll be fun. But you know what, Marlen, if you have any Twitter or Facebook or anything you want to shout out, please do it now.
Oh, okay. I got caught off guard. Always on guard. Always.
Yeah, keep your guard.
My Twitter name is Marlen112 Boxing. So my name, my weight class, and my sport, and my Instagram is Marlen_Esparza.
Okay, and on Facebook, do you have Facebook, or is it just the public Facebook for public figure?
I have a public Facebook, and we update it with everything that I'm doing and everything that's going on with me. But I deal with my Twitter and my Instagram like from my phone. So.
Okay. Marlen, it's been really nice talking to you. I actually don't want to let you go because there's so much more to talk about, but, good luck with everything. I'm sure I'll see you again soon. Thank you for being on our show.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, we will be right back with more Real Combat Media Boxing Radio with world-class referee judge Jack Reiss. Stay tuned.
This is Real Combat Media Radio. Check us out at realcombatmedia.com. While you're there, check out the Feed the Poor link on the bottom of every article, and you can send a donation if you're interested. That is, once again, on the bottom of every article as well as on the top of the website. If you are an MMA, boxing, or fitness business and interested in sponsoring our website or radio podcast, send us an email. Advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Once again, that is advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Make sure to check out the Real Combat Media MMA and boxing store at the top of the menu at realcombatmedia.com. We carry a collection of products. We have the Cardio Mask, which is excellent for all fighters, endurance athletes, and serious fitness enthusiasts. Once you are in the Real Combat Media store, click on the banner on that page. We also carry Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is a great and natural product which activates your brain's neurotransmitters and helps you think more clearly, which improves brain function. You can also purchase the world's healthiest plant protein, which comes from hemp. There are many other products on the online store, and click on the On It banner at the Real Combat Media store, and you can purchase Alpha Brain and other health products. Use the discount code Real Combat Media, and you will receive 10% off at the checkout store on the On It. That is ONNIT on the banner at Real Combat Media store. Buckle up. Here we go. Let's get this show started.
Welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. This is episode 35. I'm your host, Christy Rosario, here in Los Angeles. My co-host is the birthday boy, the boxing prophet, Mr. Richard Solomon, all the way in New York City. And you can call us at 347-324-5998, 347-324-5998, or Twitter us at Real Combat Media. My Twitter is Boxing Girl, BXINGIRL, and we have at Boxing Prophet 68 for the Boxing Prophet. You can also go to Real Combat Media in the search bar on Facebook. And coming up right now, we have our world-class professional referee judge, Mr. Jack Reiss. How are you, Jack?
Great, Christy. Thank you for having me on the show. Hello, Richard, and happy birthday.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate it.
Good to have you. Yeah. We'll see what you think about that later, Jack. After the Prophet starts talking about all the judging these days, right, Prophet? You've been happy, huh?
Not really, but I'm sure Jack's going to back me up.
We'll see.
We'll see. We're not going to throw anybody under the bus. I promise you.
Richard,
we'll
I just want to tell Richard. Rich, I grew up in Coney Island, so I'll know where to find you if I need to.
There you go, and I'm a Canarsie boy. Paddock at 15th Street.
All right, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, the first 10 years of my life were spent in Brooklyn. I'm now in Long Island, but my heart will always belong to Brooklyn.
I hear you. Me too.
Well, Jack, here we are, and these days you turn on the television, you watch a fight, and you see Jack Reiss. And I know you've been professional referee, I'd say about 15 years. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's correct. And then all of a sudden, to me it seems like you've blown up. I see you everywhere. Is this true, or is this just something that, I think? Or have you just gotten a lot more work lately?
Well, it's funny. I think that you're hypersensitive because you're a referee also, so you notice the referees. And, in fact, it's my goal to remain as inconspicuous as possible and not be seen as a referee. And if you're seeing me a lot, I appreciate it. I have been fortunate. I've been working 15 years to be an overnight success, and I have been getting quite a few fights as of lately. So thank you for noticing.
Yeah, and you are right. Being a referee judge myself, I do. I look for the judges, I look for the referees, and I always notice, and, I'm always waving, but you don't see me it's on television. But you're here in California, And, it's political everywhere. But how has it been, lately as far as the climate with, new referee and judges coming in and all that other stuff?
Well, it's very political. It always has been and it always will be. But it seems like this current administration for the California State Athletic Commission is trying to remove all those politics and just, go with a solid performance by people and pushing the politics to the side. For me, specifically, and a few others, we've been working real hard. We've been consistent performers, and they're working us. And we're very grateful. I feel honored every time I'm in the ring. Christy, you know this. We don't do this for the money. The money's horrible. You can't make a living at it. And it's just for the love of the game. I feel like honored to be part of something that I've loved for so long.
Yes, and that is true. Like tenfold when you talk about me and Aiba. It's not for the money.
Yeah. It's time for you to step up It's time for you to step up into the pros.
Oh my gosh! Honestly, I've been thinking about it because like the pros, the amateurs, and they're very political. If you are friends, you get sent places, and if you're not, or if you speak up, you're kind of left behind. So I'm definitely going to think about that one. But I'm back to you, Jack. I want to ask you. Had some really cool fights lately, like Abner Mares and Johnny Gonzalez. What a shocker. Were you as shocked as the rest of us during that fight?
Well, shock is not the right word. I was surprised. I didn't think it would go that way. But, fighters get caught early. They get caught before they're warmed up. Plus, you had two great, an ex-world champion and a top contender fighting a world champion. And, this is boxing. Things like that happen. So I was surprised, but I wasn't shocked. And Abner Mares is a great champion, and he'll be back.
Definitely, he will. And did you have any doubt about stopping that fight, or did you know, okay, this is time?
No, not at all. And I don't know if you guys, remember this fight specifically, but he got hit with a crushing left hand and lost all muscle control and dropped straight down. And when he got up on some, soft legs, and I had to make a decision if he was able to protect himself if I let this thing go. And being that it was early in the first round, I knew he had a full tank of gas, so I gave it a shot and let him go. And I want to explain something to the general public and, to you guys as well. When fighters get hurt, in our industry we say when they get buzzed. When they get hurt, when they get buzzed, there's a few things that they could do. They could hold, they could run, they could take a knee, they could bob and weave, they could fight back, they could spit their mouthpiece out, and they could even foul their opponent. And the things that they're doing that I'm describing is they're trying to get a break from getting hit again till they can recover back up to their, to 100%. Well, when you're a referee, you want fighters who are thinking. You don't want fighters who are on instinct. So when Abner got knocked down that first time, I gave him a shot, and I stayed very close to watch to see what he would do. And unfortunately, he was on instinct. Instead of holding or running or any of the other things, he chose to stand still and fight back, and that's instinctual, and that's how fighters usually get hurt. And unfortunately, that's what happened. He got caught with another shot, devastating, shot the second one. His leg was behind him when he went down, and his head slammed against the canvas on that second knockdown. And then I had a choice. Do I count him out? Do I give him a chance to get up? And I said no, because I was going to be up. If I said go, let him go, I was going to unleash a tornado on him that was at 100%. Johnny Gonzalez was at 100%. He hadn't been hit first round, and I felt that Abner was below 50%. He didn't have the capability to intelligently defend himself at that time. So I hope that gives a little insight to what goes through our mind in a situation like that.
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, I looked at him and saw how out of it he was, and you made definitely the right call. But, yeah, you never want anyone to get hurt. And you and I had spoke briefly earlier, and I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about Magomed Abdulsalamov, who's currently still in a coma and had a stroke, I heard, last Tuesday. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that situation.
Yeah, it's tragic. He's a great guy, and he was a really good fighter, it was shocking to see something like that happen. He had never been past 5 rounds. This was a very difficult fight for him. And, my prayers are out to him and his handlers and his family, and I hope, he comes out of his coma soon. In speaking about it, what would you like me to address?
Okay. People that have never boxed, again, are going to make tons of comments. But now, let's say you had been in the ring, and it's hard because you weren't there, do you feel that the referee, the cornerman, the doctor, everything was right that night, and that you just couldn't tell that he had this blood clot? Or what is your opinion on what should have gone down?
Well, there's always lessons to be learned from it. I'm not going to criticize the corners or the referee or anybody in this situation because, Monday morning quarterbacking doesn't hurt anybody. And I don't really care for some of the media that, it's the same guys saying, hey, you stopped the fight too quick, that will say, hey, you let that go too long. So, that's not right. But what we can do is we can learn from this. And I can only give you my experience. There's no perfect time to stop a fight, or actually there is, but it's impossible to stop every fight at the perfect time because it's dynamic and it's changing constantly, and then you don't have the opportunity to insert yourself to stop that fight. Now, anybody can count over a fighter that's out, and you count to 10 and you wave your hands off, but the challenging ones are the ones like with Mago the other night. I always get messed up on his last name. I apologize. But
it's hard.
It is. But the situation we had the other night was you got 2 fighters, and they're both taking heavy punches. In fact, they threw more punches for heavyweights than I've seen in a long time. And when I'm in a situation like that, and my instinct is telling me that I'm uncomfortable, that I believe this one of the fighters or both of the fighters are getting hurt, I actually ask myself 4 or 5 questions during the fight. The first question I ask myself is, can this fighter mathematically win this fight with no knockdowns from this point on? In other words, if it's a 10-round fight, has he lost all 6 or 7 up to this point? Because if he mathematically, he can't win if he wins the next 3 only. So that's one of the considerations I think about. The second thing I think about is, does he have a real puncher's chance? Not everybody has a punch that can change a fight around, but certainly these 2 fighters had it. The third thing I ask myself is, does the fighter really want to be there? Does his body language tell me that he's just trying to survive, or is he truly trying to compete? Does he really want to be in that fight? The fourth question I ask myself, what's the best thing for me to do for boxing at this time? Obviously, safety is always number one, but on a high-stake fight such as that was, where the next one of those guys was going to get a title shot, and it was such an entertaining fight that a referee stoppage prematurely could have been even more controversial for the sport. And, one of the things I was going to allude to earlier, I try to be as inconspicuous as possible, and my second credo is I always try to do everything in my power to let the 2 guys settle it between themselves. I try not to insert myself in any way if I don't have to, let it come to a natural conclusion. So that's another consideration about what's the best thing for boxing. And then the last thing I ask myself, and I'm sorry for this long-winded answer, but the last thing I ask myself is, are there any obvious signs of damaging physical trauma that would, alert me to I need to stop this fight? And if you go through the fight with Mago, you'll realize that 4 of the 5 questions were a yes. He wanted to be there. He could have won mathematically. It was really good for boxing to let this fight go, and that guy definitely had a puncher's chance. The only question I see was he did have some damage. He obviously broke his nose, and in the second round it looked like he either broke his cheek or his jaw, but he had the will to win, and he wanted to keep going. And at that particular time, if we're going to get anything out of this, is we're a team in there. The corners, the doctors, the referee, we all got to come together and make a decision for the guy when he's such a warrior and he doesn't want to get himself out of there.
No, that's great because, most people have never boxed, most people have never refereed or judged, and I want them to hear this because you have Mike Alvarado, Ruslan Provodnikov, and people are getting down on the corner of Mike Alvarado because they stopped it. they were keeping him safe. They were coming together. And then now you have people saying, well, boxing is too brutal. Look at what happened to Magomed. And, you know, people are always going to jump on the bandwagon when you can look and you can see sports like football, cheerleading, where they're throwing everyone up in the air. You know, there's a lot more, sorry about that, I keep hearing buzzing, but there's a lot more dangerous sports, I'd say as dangerous as boxing, and it gets very frustrating for me. So I appreciate you going through all of this, Jack. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's frustrating for me, too. And I got to tell you something. I applaud the corners that pull their guys out of the fights. I got to explain something to the fans that are listening. I go into the corners when guys are, taking a good, I don't want to say a beating, but when they've really taken some hard shots during the fight and they're strong and they don't want to give up, I go into corners and I talk to the corners. Those corner guys know those fighters better than anyone. They spend 6 days a week for a minimum of 6 weeks with those guys training. They know when they're having an off night. They know what's normal for that guy. And I applaud the guys. Like I remember a fight recently, Robert Garcia pulled one of his guys out of a championship fight that just wasn't going to win that night and saves this kid because he's a man or a woman. He has a life to continue after boxing's over, and that's what's the most important thing. So, like I said, a team between the doctors, the corners, and the referees coming together and sometimes making a decision for that fighter no matter how much heart he has.
I agree, and I also want to ask you, because I know that you give clinics on, refereeing and judging, and I believe on safety. Have you ever thought, or maybe this has happened, to do a public, so the public, more like the corners, the coaches, they can come and hear you lecture on this. Have you ever done anything like that?
Yes, we have, and I just want to let everybody know they're more than welcome to come Wednesday, November 20th, if you're in the Las Vegas area, at Richard Steele's Boxing Club, 2475 West Cheyenne Avenue. The NSAC is having their yearly seminar. Myself and Joe Cortez are presenting the referees portion. Glenn Tolbridge is presenting the judging portion, and they're doing MMA as well, and Steve Mazzagatti is presenting that. There's a small fee to get in, but everyone is welcome. The media is invited free of charge. We're trying to get the word out there through the media of what we do and what our considerations are and how we look after the fighter's safety and the dilemmas that we're faced with as officials. So this is one of them, and when the California State Athletic Commission, I believe we're going to do some training in January. I've talked to the commissioner and I've talked to the executive officer just about doing what you said and having the general public or at least the media so they can get the word out, attend these sessions.
Please let us know. I mean, thank you for telling about Las Vegas, but when you come to California, I want to be there too. And it is so important. If you can enlighten some of these people about safety in the ring, I mean, that is one step forward in boxing, I feel. I mean, you're not going to stop the sport. If you stopped it, people are still going to fight in their basements, in their backyards. So you can't, at least here, you're in charge of keeping them safe and their corners.
Yeah, it's like prohibition with alcohol. It's just going to go underground, and people will really get hurt without any regulation. So it's better to bring it out and regulate it, in my opinion, anyway.
That's funny because when I was saying that, I was thinking about prohibition. I'm glad. See, we think alike, Jack.
Referees, what can I tell you?
I tell you. Well, I want to ask you also now about the John Molina Jr. and Antonio DeMarco. If you could, some people say, oh, he stopped too short. So, again, same thing. Some people say that was perfect. I know the California Commission said you did just what you were supposed to do. Can you, walk us through what happened that night with John?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to tell you that I have nothing but respect and admiration for John Molina. He's 26-3. He just came off a great knockout victory of Michael Bay. He's got his career back on track, and this was just a burp or a little bump in the road for the guy. That night he was fighting Antonio DeMarco, a world champion, an unbelievable fighter. And what happened? Just the same thing, similar to what happened to Abner Mars. He got caught early in the fight, and his reaction was instinctual. he stood there and fought back and then got hit, instead of moving or holding. When a fighter gets hurt, I'm going to say this again, as a referee, I want a thinking fighter. I don't want an instinctual fighter. I want a fighter thinking, stalling, figuring out a way to buy some time to recuperate back to his greatest, ability, back to 100%. And when he got hit with that straight left hand from DeMarco, it stood him up. He got a little stiff-legged. He reeled back towards the ropes, and I guess he didn't have his legs to move because he just stood there and traded. And then he got hit with quite I think 3 really good punches. And instinctually, instead of holding for some reason, and because he was buzzed. And it's funny. I always want to throw something in. Mike Tyson said it the best. Everyone has a plan in boxing until they get punched in the face, and the plan goes out the window. And that's not a knock on John Molina. I'm just saying, if you're out in the public and you've never boxed and you've never got hit and you've never been buzzed, you just don't understand what it is. And anyway, John was buzzed. And for some reason, he went down and covered up, and I was screaming at him, but obviously he was buzzed. He didn't hear me. Fight, get out of there, get off the rope, show me something, move, get out, whatever. And he stayed there and took about 18 unanswered punches and kind of, just covering his head. So it kind of left me no choice. I had to, step in and stop it. And he lives to fight another day.
He does, and I know he thinks highly of you, too, because we had him on the show. Prophet, why don't you jump in, because you may want to talk about this, and I know you have other things to talk about.
Yeah, sure. It seemed that, and Molina defended you and had nothing but kind words to say, as Christy was alluding to, but it seemed to me in that fight that Molina was sort of in a very awkward position. He was almost crouched down, and I don't know if his ass actually touched the canvas, but it seemed like it was touching the bottom rope. So I thought maybe he had said, Molina even said there's no standing 8 count, I believe, in California, but it was just so weird because he was putting his gloves on top of his head. And,
exactly.
And so, yeah, some of the punches were landing, but it seemed like they were touching his glove. It kind of put you in a no-win situation. You really had no choice but to stop that fight.
I appreciate that, and I want to address what you said. There's no standing 8 count in professional boxing, and there are some people that said I should have called it a knockdown, that his butt was touching the ropes, and I want to clarify something for everybody out there. Okay, a knockdown is any time due to a legal punch any part of a fighter's body other than the soles of his feet touching the canvas, and anytime a fighter is hanging helplessly over the ropes. John was not hanging helplessly over the ropes. John was in control of his own body. He was on the balls of his feet, leaning forward. His butt was touching the ropes every now and then, but he was not hanging helplessly over him. He had his hands, like you said, Richard, over his head. He didn't I believe in my heart of hearts, he didn't realize where he was because he was buzzed, but he was just covering up, leaning forward on the balls of his feet. If he would have fell back onto the ropes and his hands would have been draped over the ropes, we had a knockdown, but we didn't have that situation. Or if his hands would have touched the canvas.
Now, and also, let's say a fighter would have gone down, but of course, the referee's discretion, the ropes held him up. Is that considered a knockdown? If you think the fighter would have gone down if the ropes weren't there to save them, would you consider that a knockdown?
The key is if he's going down, and while he's going down, he's helpless on those ropes. If he's going down and the ropes stop him and his hands reach to grab the ropes to help him up, or his hands are draped over the ropes in a position where he can't defend himself, that's the definition of helpless. Look, if Fighter A punches Fighter B and B goes flying across the ring, and if the ropes weren't there, he would end up in the 3rd row, but the ropes stop him, but he's got his hands up and he just bounces off the ropes and comes back, that's not a knockdown. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. I agree wholeheartedly. And listening to you talk, you're very wise, you're very knowledgeable. And I was just going to ask you, Christy sort of stole my question, so to speak. You do seem like the kind of guy that would be great to hear speak at seminars. And I read somewhere that you assist Robert Byrd at the IBF convention in Vegas, and you help him with his seminar on officiating.
Yeah, that's great. No, Robin and I co-teach these things. And in fact, we just put on a 3-day seminar in Vancouver to certify new and give continuing education for the Vancouver British Columbia Athletic Commission for their officials. We do this together, and we've done it in Vegas, in Germany, in Panama. We've done it all over the world together. And this particular time, I'm co-teaching or co-presenting, whatever you want to call it, with Joe Cortez, which I've co-presented with him as well before.
Right, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 2 years ago, there was a boxing show on FX called Lights Out, which I loved, and of course it was canceled after one season, but were you not? You played a referee? Didn't you make a cameo appearance on that TV show?
No, actually, I was not. I was not on Lights Out. I just did a little stint on Ray Donovan with
Ray
Liam.
Donovan. Yes,
yeah.
That's right. I'm sorry.
I
got the shows confused.
That's okay.
I saw you on Ray Donovan, Jack. I saw you. Very good. I enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun. Those people are so nice. They're so professional, and they have a very, very great respect for boxing and fighters in the industry. They're wonderful.
Yeah,
the show's great.
Yeah,
the show's great.
It is good, but I only watched it because of you, but it was good.
Oh, stop.
And it's good to know that it's picked up for a second season, which is great. Because I knew I saw you on one of the boxing shows, but it definitely was Ray Donovan. But you know, it is no secret that boxing judges have been taking a lot of slack, and it's not just lately. I remember growing up, you know, I'm recently, you know, my birthday boy, 45 years old, and I remember watching, you know, Felix Tito Trinidad getting a gift decision over De La Hoya, and watching Pernell Whitaker get robbed against Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. Recently now we've had atrocious decisions with Mayweather and Canelo, one judge scoring in a draw. And even a couple of weeks ago, it's getting to the point now, you know, Peter Quillen, no doubt he earned a decision against Rosado. I thought it was a very, very close fight. I agreed with the stoppage. I thought Rosado's eye was a mess. It should have been stopped. And people are writing me on social media, well, at least the right guy, you know, was winning the fight. When one judge had Peter Quillen winning every single round, all 10 rounds, in a fight where I clearly gave Rosado at least 4 rounds. Christy and I have gone on the show numerous times and said maybe where the judges sit, maybe the ropes block their vision or the ref blocks their vision, that maybe they should take judges like they do almost in football, where the defensive coordinators sit upstairs. Maybe they should put judges in like a luxury box, have them privy to instant replay, put monitors in front of them, and maybe we'll get some better results. You know, experiment a little. Baseball has instant replay. It seems like all the major sports have sort of reinvented themselves with instant replay, and they're sort of changing the rules, and, you know, it's a sign of the times. Do you think something needs to be done with judges, some sort of experimentation?
Well, due to the public outcry and the outcry from the media, people like yourself, I think definitely something needs to be done. But I want to just, you know, identify one of the biggest problems, okay? All the industries, all the sports industries that you just mentioned, all have national commissions. So they have one sanctioning body that regulates them. Major League Baseball, National Basketball Association, National Football League. We don't have that in boxing. We have a few different world sanctioning bodies, and every state in the United States does things their own way, has little differences of what they use, and it adds subjectivity into it. Additionally, there's no national training, and we have the ABC, which gives us the rules, but you could take 3 guys from 3 different parts of the world right now and go over a rule, and you'll have 3 different variations because there's not one body that identifies what it is. And I don't even know if the general public understands the judging criteria that a boxing judge is supposed to be using. And then you add to it, you know, different countries and different languages. It's a difficult situation that needs to be addressed, and I think a national organization or national commission would be the first step in solving that. Additionally, I want to just, like Christy was saying, it's really political, and it makes me nauseous, Richard. I don't even know how to say it any better. It makes me sick. Some of the people we have in this industry that are working as judges and even referees, we have people in this industry that are somebody important's nephew. They've never taken a punch in their life. They have no clue what it's like to be in the ring, to train, to have this as your career. And because of politics, they've gotten themselves in a position of, grave importance in the boxing industry. And they got the person's career in their hand and life in their hand. And that's why a national commission, I think, would be better, where they, you get a resume, you have like the amateurs that you come up through, and you have a school that you enter, that you have to pass this course under lots of pressure. And then when you get put out into the professional ranks, you've been through the mill and you've earned your trade, But we don't have that.
Right, and Teddy Atlas is always screaming about that on ESPN, that boxing really needs a commission. And this week we heard, on HBO with the Matrosian-Andre fight, you heard Max Kellerman, who's usually mild-mannered.
Martirosian.
I get that name right. The usually mild-mannered Max Kellerman exploded when it wasn't unanimous and it was a split decision. But I want to bring up, because you're a referee, and I wanted just the two examples of, actually three, of officiating. You tell me how you feel about the fights. The most famous, I guess, premature stoppage, when I look back at it, 100 times in a week, I think he actually did the right job. He had no choice. Was the infamous Richard Steele with Meldrick
Chavez and Taylor.
Chavez, yes, with Chavez against Meldrick Taylor. I was a huge Meldrick Taylor fan, so I wanted him to win that fight in the worst way. But if you really study the tape, it seems that Meldrick Taylor at the time of the stoppage wasn't paying attention to Richard Steele. He was too busy looking at Lou Duva, who from all accounts was on the ring apron yelling and screaming at him. And Richard Steele, I think, said, "Look into my eyes, son." And Meldrick Taylor was too busy looking at Duva. Do you think that was a fair stoppage in your eyes, or no?
Well, listen. Richard Steele, I have nothing but the utmost respect for him and his integrity. And, he said the greatest thing about that stoppage, because people always have addressed that they knew that Taylor was like out on his feet, and he had been getting beat down for those last couple of rounds prior to that. And no one had a problem with, recognizing the fact that Taylor was hurt. What people have mentioned to me that they had a problem with was there were only 2 seconds left on the clock. But what people don't realize is, and Richard Steele has said this, he didn't know how much time was left. And to accentuate that, I want to just throw a scenario at you guys. You got a fighter that goes down. Can he be saved by the bell? Absolutely not, right? So now you got a fighter that goes down within the last 10 seconds, and the timekeeper starts by giving you the count, the knockdown count. The timekeepers don't signal that there's 10 seconds left once they've given you that knockdown count, because they're not going to ring the bell anyway. So Richard Steele had no way of knowing he was within the last 10 seconds. Would it have made a difference? Would it have made? Maybe he would have let it finish on his feet and go to scorecards. I don't know. I wasn't the dog in the fight. He was. I have the utmost respect for him. I'm not second guessing him on that one.
Right, I gotcha. And another one, Christy and I spoke about this on the show more recently, when Bernard Hopkins defended his belt against Murat. It seemed that I love Steve Smoger at Double S. He always gives the fighter the benefit of the doubt. He lets him, fight in the trenches, so to speak. But it seemed to me that Steve Smoger was a huge, it was almost like he was president of the Bernard Hopkins fan club on that night, letting Hopkins get away with, numerous fouls. And also it got to the point on the other side where Murat threw Hopkins down to the canvas and threw 2 punches while Hopkins was down, and Smoger didn't deduct a point or do anything. Do you think because, Hopkins is 48-year-old, is a 48-year-old man, and he's sort of this iconic legend, that Smoger actually let both fighters get away with too much fouling in that fight?
I cannot tell you why or what was in Steve Smoger's head. I can tell you that Steve Smoger has done a hell of a lot of fights, officiated a hell of a lot of fights, And he and Richard Steele, and I hope myself as well, you're not going to judge my career on the basis of one fight. It's the body of work. And whether you agree with what he did that night or not, again, judge him by the body of his work. And I don't know what he thought about with those guys, but I can tell you this. I told you this before. I try to personally stay out of the fight. I try to let the two fighters settle it between themselves without inserting myself. And that means if I could use my verbal commands or any way possible without taking points to settle fighters down, I'm going to do it. You know, you got just picture this. You got two highly trained athletes at the peak of their conditioning stepping in a ring trying to take each other's head off. On top of that, there's emotion. So their adrenaline in those first 4 or 5 rounds is so spiked that as a referee, you can't jump on them right away. You got to work with them. You got to coerce them into calming down if there's any kind of fouls going on. And if it's a flagrant foul with intent to injure or did cause an injury, hey, I'm taking points. I'm doing something. But if it's a nasty battle between two guys and it gets a little ugly, Richard, this ain't tennis. This is boxing. This is a fight. This is where two guys are trying to knock each other out. It's no different in hockey or in football. You'll see, even in basketball, you'll see the referees, being lenient and letting things go and using their communication skills to tell guys to knock it off and calm down. And they'll only start addressing the blatant ones that cause an advantage or a disadvantage. If Boxer A did something and caused an advantage over Boxer B and an injury, absolutely take a point. But if it's just the rough stuff on the inside or whatever, and you can calm them down, let their adrenaline spike come down, you'll probably settle them into a good fight. It's my theory. Right. It doesn't mean it's right. It's mine. It doesn't mean it's right.
I agree with you. And also, I think a lot of fighters, and the fight that sticks out for some reason, I don't know why, was years and years ago, Costa Tszyu against Zab Judah, and Zab Judah actually lost his cool. And I was surprised.
Grabbed Jay Nady by the throat.
Yes,
yeah.
I was surprised by Nady's composure. But here's a perfect example, and I think a lot of fighters have it. When they get knocked down, they're too prideful. The referee's counting to 8. You could take one knee, take the 8 count, and then get up. But I think in that particular case, Zab Judah was so he dominated the first round. He was caught in the second round. He wanted to prove that the knockdown was a fluke, and he wanted to prove he had machismo. He got up too quickly. His legs did a little dance. Jay Nady had no choice but to stop the fight. The reason why I bring this up is you made a good point earlier before. I think fighters need to be more intelligent and drop this bravado act. It's not the end of the world if you get knocked down. The referees are counting to 8 for a reason, to give you time to recover. And I think Abner Mara should have done that against Gonzalez. He tried to get up too quickly. Hindsight, it cost him.
I can't agree with you more. Knockdowns happen in professional boxing. They're no big deal. Take it on a knee, get up, take a nice deep breath, and let's go on. The only thing I could say in Zab's defense was he might have been so buzzed, he was on instinct. He popped up out of instinct, and he was stiff-legged like Frankenstein, and you saw the result. And I got to tell you, this happens. Christy, you've seen this 100 times. I see this all the time, Richard. I'll get a guy who's, he's been slowly being worn down in the fight, or even sometimes it happens suddenly where they're out on their feet, and I insert myself, step between them, and grab them and put them against the ropes. Well, they're highly trained athletes, and about 7 to 12 seconds later, they're back conscious. And they're yelling at me, "What'd you stop the fight for?" And they're ready to kill me. And I just tell them, watch the tape. Just watch the tape. It happens all the time. They don't even know what happened to them. I've had fighters on the ground. I go, "You know where you are?" And they tell me, I'm in Long Beach. And when they tell me we're in Bakersfield, they just, they're out. There's a disconnect. But, the electrical impulses that your brain sends out to the rest of your body gets shut down temporarily when you get knocked down like that. And it takes a while to get that. It's like a light switch that's flickering, a light bulb. Sometimes it takes a little while to get that light bulb back on, and it happens all the time.
Yeah, I agree. You just safety first, and as long as you can go to bed at night and have a clear conscience, then that's what counts, right? We keep them safe. But, Jack, this is fantastic for everyone to hear. I would love you to come back. Unfortunately, we will have no time for Jesus Soto Karass if we keep talking. But please, before you go, give the clinic again the information, because that is great.
Okay. The Nevada State Athletic Commission is having their annual training on November 20th. It's at Richard Steele's Boxing Gym, 2475 West Cheyenne Avenue in North Las Vegas. It's $30. I'm sure all people are welcome, especially the media. They don't have to pay. Nevada, as well as the rest of the commissions, want to get out and show everybody, that we do train and the things that we're going over and some of the challenges we face as officials. So we'd love to have you guys. And, Christy, I'm going to take you up on that. I'm going to personally plead with the commission and the executive officer, Andy Foster, and I'm going to ask him if we can invite the media and public as well.
Thank you. And if there's anything I can do, please let me know. And do you have a Twitter or a Facebook that you want to publicly tell everybody?
And my Twitter account is at 2 Jack Reiss, JACKREISS. If you want to tweet me, go right ahead. And I want to thank both of you guys for the honor of having me on your show and let me give you some perspective as a referee, because we don't get to, it's actually in our rules. We will not speak to the media about decisions that are made. So, coming on and being able to express our side and the challenges we face, we always want to let the fighter compete fairly, give him his due. We always want to give the fans a good fight, but on the other side of that is safety first. So it's a balancing act, and to be able to sit here and talk to you guys about this stuff and describe it, I appreciate it so much. Thank you guys both so much.
So do we. Thank you very much, Jack, and we will talk to you again soon.
All right, you guys have a good one. Take care.
You too.
Hey, Richard, happy
Take
birthday
care.
and stay warm, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
All right,
it.
Take care. We'll be right back with more Real Combat Media Boxing Radio with Jesus Soto Karass. Right back after a minute and 32 seconds.
This is Real Combat Media Radio. Check us out at realcombatmedia.com. While you're there, check out the Feed the Poor link on the bottom of every article, and you can send a donation if you're interested. That is, once again, on the bottom of every article as well as on the top of the website. If you are an MMA, boxing, or fitness business and interested in sponsoring our website or radio podcast, send us an email. Advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Once again, that is advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Make sure to check out the Real Combat Media MMA and boxing store at the top of the menu at realcombatmedia.com. We carry a collection of products. We have the Cardio Mask, which is excellent for all fighters, endurance athletes, and serious fitness enthusiasts. Once you are in the Real Combat Media store, click on the banner on that page. We also carry Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is a great and natural product which activates your brain's neurotransmitters and helps you think more clearly, which improves brain function. You can also purchase the world's healthiest plant protein, which comes from hemp. There are many other products online on the online store, and click on the On It banner at the Real Combat Media store, and you can purchase Alpha Brain and other health products. Use the discount code Real Combat Media, and you will receive 10% off at the checkout store on the On It. That is ONNIT on the banner at Real Combat Media store. Buckle up. Here we go. Let's get this show started.
Welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. This is episode 35. I'm your host, Christy Rosario, here in Los Angeles. My co-host is Richard Solomon, the Boxing Prophet in New York City. Live callers at 347-324-5998. You can Twitter us at Real Combat Media or find us on Facebook at Real Combat Media in the search bar. After the show, you can still watch over and over again. You can't watch, but you can listen on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, realcombatmedia.com, and YouTube. Well, we have another special guest. We've had a great evening for New Yorkers. We have NABF welterweight title holder, Jesus Soto Karass. Hola, hello, Jesus.
Hola, buenas tardes, Jesús Soto Karass.
Soto Karass.
No, Karass. Soto Karass. Soto Karass. Así es, pues aquí estamos, mira, aquí Aquí estamos aquí en el hotel descansando después del día de entrenamiento.
Well, let me tell you,
Hi.
Pablo, are you there?
Yes,
Pablo?
I'm here.
We have Pablo Rubio, who's one of Jesus' trainers, and he's going to interpret since my Spanish is just not that fast. So what did Jesus just say to us besides, I know I pronounced his last name wrong?
He says that he's at his hotel and he's resting right now, getting ready for his fight.
Muy bien.
Que mi apellido, güey, que ¿por qué está diciendo mi apellido? Yo no soy el gringo yo, ¿y qué pasó? Eso es Soto Karass. Soto Karass, no, Soto Karass.
Not
Soto Karass.
It's Soto Karass, not Soto Karass.
Karass. Am I
Yes.
still saying it
Karass.
right? Ay, Dios mío, lo siento, Jesus. I'm going to call you just
that's okay. That's okay.
Oh, my gosh. Well, Jesus, you are wonderful to come on. I met you over at Grandpa's Boxing Club where you were there to support the kids that were boxing. Did you have a good day over there with the kids?
Jesús, ella te conoció en el gimnasio de Grandpa's. Tuvo mucho placer de conocerte ahí. ¿Estabas ahí soportando a los niños?
Pues sí, pero pues estamos ahí apoyando a todos los, pues en general a todos, ¿no? Nada más que íbamos a apoyar a los peleadores de Ponce de León Gym, pero pues sí, bueno, apoyando a todos los que van creciendo en este duro deporte.
Yes, he says he was there at the show supporting some kids that were fighting from the Ponce de Leon's boxing gym, but there to support the sport too.
Yeah, it was nice to see him there. The kids loved it. Okay, so we have Jesus, and he's fighting Keith Thurman, okay, on December 14th in San Antonio, Texas, for the WBA World Welterweight title. So how do you feel like getting ready for Keith Thurman? Keith Thurman has, undefeated record. I'm sure he's getting ready for you. Are you doing anything special this time?
Te estás alistando para la pelea de Keith Thurman. Esta pelea es una pelea dura para ti. ¿Qué estás haciendo diferente para prepararte para esta pelea, Soto?
Pues mira, yo creo que de hecho todas las peleas que he tenido han sido duras, ¿no? Entonces no veo por qué la excepción que sea así con Thurman. Lo que estamos haciendo, pues tú sabes, ¿no? Hemos estado trabajando fuerte, corriendo montaña, haciendo sparring ahorita con unos brutos que me quieren matar, ¿no?
He says that he's getting ready for the fight. He's had a hard fight before. Keith Thurman is no different than all his other hard fights that he had. He says that he's running the mountains. He's training hard. He has a real good training camp going on right now. And he's real strong and ready, mentally ready for the fight.
Te faltó. Tienes que decir que los sparring me quieren matar, los desgraciados.
And that his sparring is real hard, and that they want to tear his head off for him.
Anyone we know who you're sparring with?
¿Alguien conocido con el que estás sparreando?
Ese Lucky Boy, su nombre es Wale Omotoso, Freddy Hernández, y ahora el libanés, que no sé el nombre, pero fue uno nuevo para ayudarme.
He says he's sparring with Lucky Boy, that is very known in the boxing, and also with Freddy Hernandez, and another Armenian guy that just came into the sparring also, that he doesn't know his name.
Okay. Are you doing anything different from when you were, getting ready for Maidana or Rosado? Anything different for this fight with Keith Thurman?
Dicen que si está haciendo algo diferente para Keith Thurman, o te estás preparando igual que la pelea que tuviste con Maidana o los rezos con los que has peleado.
Okay. Pues mira, con Maidana, con Gabriel, el King Rosado. Pues sí, mira, yo creo que con King Rosado subía a 154 Superwelter, una división que no es la mía. Yo creo que ahí fue un error mío, ¿no? Con Maidana, okay, sí.
With Rosado, he went into a division that he didn't feel comfortable in. That might have been his troubles, but he feels real comfortable at the way he's at right now.
Sí, con Maidana hicimos un gran entrenamiento en Big Bear. Nada más que pues me pararon la pelea. De hecho, pues tengo que reconocer, no fue ese primer boxeador que me ha tumbado. Más sin embargo, yo me sentía bien, pero pararon la pelea, ¿no? Y eso ya quedó en historia.
with Maidana, he prepared himself very well, as also as for the other fights. It's just that he got hit with a good shot. It was his first time that he's ever been down on the campus, and they stopped the fight on him.
Ahora en esta pelea con Kentuma sabemos que tenemos un oponente pues duro, es bueno, pero al igual no tenemos que prepararnos al 1000% para darle un gran espectáculo a toda la gente.
He says that he's preparing himself very well for Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is a hard fighter. He recognizes that. But he's preparing himself very well. He should be at 1,000% when he comes into the ring.
Well, the good thing for me, when you watch Jesus fight, Jesus fights 3 minutes of every round. You will never get anything but an exciting fight with Jesus. So let's say he passes Thurman, not that we're taking Thurman lightly because he's a great fighter. Between Broner and Maidana, who would he like to fight?
Dice que tú has tenido peleas duras, esta va a ser una de ellas. Tú siempre peleas los 3 minutos de la pelea. Nunca vienes a una pelea donde peleas media pelea. Siempre peleas duro, peleas los 3 minutos. Si pasas este test, ¿con quién te gustaría pelear otra vez? ¿Con Maidana o con Broner?
Pues mira, primeramente tenemos que pasar, como tú dices, no, el test de Turma. Yo creo pasando esta prueba, entonces yo creo que a cualquiera de los dos ganadores, no, ya que es una pelea también bastante dura para Maidana y para Broner, entonces yo creo que realmente Dios me conceda salir con los brazos en alto y la verdad no tengo favorito, no, con quién pelear. El que me ponga mi empresa, ya sea Truma, ya sea Broner, ya sea Maidana, ya sea otro peleador, cualquier peleador, yo creo que ya estoy en esto y no tengo por qué tenerle miedo a ninguno.
He recognizes that he has a hard fight coming up. He doesn't look over this fight. He says as soon as this fight is over and he wins and has his hand up, he wouldn't mind fighting either Broner or Maidana, that they also have a hard fight in front of them, that he's always been ready to fight the best, and he would fight the best at any time. He has no reason to run from anybody.
Well, you always fight the best, like you say, Jesus, and I'm thinking if you fight Broner, which I would love to see you beat Broner. I hate to say it like that, but I'd love to see that. But I'm afraid that you'd be fighting someone that, Broner will get in there and he'll mix it up a little bit, but he doesn't fight for 3 minutes like you do. So I'm not sure how that would go. It might be a little frustrating for you.
Dice que a ella le gustaría que tú pelearías con Broner. Esa sería una pelea muy buena. Que no piensa nada mal de Broner ella, pero que sí sería una pelea muy buena, que porque Broner nomás pelea en capítulos y tú peleas 3 minutos de la pelea.
No, pues sí, pues ya, como te digo, ojalá se me dé esa pelea, ojalá realmente Dios me conceda esta victoria, y de ahí si es con Broner o con Maidana, con el que sea, si es como dice Chris que Broner pelea a medio de Chile, como decimos nosotros, entonces pues hay que hacer lo que trabaje todos los 3 rounds para que la gente no se aburra y tengan una gran pelea.
He says that he hopes that it's a good fight, that whoever wins, he would love to fight with them. But if you think Broner would be a good fight, then he would like to fight Broner and make him fight 3 minutes of the fight. That way the crowd don't get bored. And he says that he's ready to fight whoever they put in front of him.
I know. That's why we love you, Jesus. But I want to get over to the boxing prophet because he has things to ask you as well.
Dice que por eso te quieren bastante, Jesús, por lo mismo, porque tú eres un guerrero.
No, pues muchas gracias, a Cristi, pero pues así somos, ¿no? Yo creo a la mayoría de los mexicanos, pero yo creo que en general pues hay muchos peleadores que así son y estamos en este trabajo o deporte, entonces pues hay que hacerlo mejor para que la gente lo reconozca y reconozca el trabajo que uno hace.
He says, thank you, Christy. He appreciates what you say about him as a fighter. He's here in this sport to work hard and to beat some of the best fighters out there. And with the help of God, he will win this fight and come along he might want to fight Broner as soon as they put him in front of him.
Okay. Pablo, you're good at this. I'm going to have to keep your number for interpreting. You're very good.
Thank you.
You're good. And what do you think, Pablo? How do you think the training's going?
The training is going great. I'm one of his trainers. Me and the other trainer, his first trainer, we're working real hard. We wake up at 4 in the morning. We do work at 4 in the morning. We have different hours for him. He's pushing the limit, man. He's ready. And he's getting very good sparring, not easy sparring at all. We work hard.
And what is the other trainer? What is his name? So we can give him some credit here.
Ramon Morales.
Ramon Morales. Es el jefe.
Ramon Morales, they call him Yuquita.
Yuquita. Oh, okay. Yuquita.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And that's at Ponce de Leon gym. Okay. Okay.
Out of the Ponce de Leon boxing gym.
Right. Prophet, jump in there.
Yeah, I just have one quick question for you guys. Thank you both for coming on. Do you think that Keith Thurman, because of Jesus' wars, you know, he's been in there with Andre Berto, Marcos Madonna, Mike Jones, he's been in several wars. Do you think Keith Thurman is overlooking him because he's been in so many wars?
¿Tú crees que Keith Thurman te está sobremirando porque tú ya has tenido muchas guerras con Andre Berto y otros peleadores buenos que has tenido buenas peleas con ellos? ¿Tú crees que Keith Thurman te está sobremirando?
No, pues mira, pues si me está sobremirando, pues pobre de él, ¿no? Lo único que él puede decir es que se enfoque en ganarme, en entrenar fuerte para un verdadero espectáculo de ring, porque es lo que yo estoy haciendo. Yo ahí arriba del ring no tengo respeto a nadie ni yo voy sobre la victoria.
Keith Thurman is overlooking over Soto Karass. He's making a big mistake. Soto Karass is ready to fight. As soon as they step in the ring, it's going to be a war. Keith Thurman better be trained as hard as he is, because come September 14, the fight, December 14, the fight will be a spectacular fight, he says.
And real quickly, you know, his record indicates that he is a puncher, but in several of his fights, Keith Thurman has shown the ability to, you know, move around the ring and box a little bit and use his jab. What is Jesus going to do to offset Keith Thurman's jab and his boxing ability if he chooses not to slug with Jesus?
Jesús, tu récord enseña que tú eres un noqueador, que tienes golpe. Keith Thurman es más un boxeador, se mueve mucho, utiliza su jab muy bien. ¿Qué es lo que vas a hacer para nutrir el plan de Keith Thurman?
Pues mira, yo lo que yo hago es no me pongo a ver videos de Truman, porque pues allá arriba de ring va a salir con otra cosa. Entonces allá al son que me toque le voy a tener que bailar. Si viene con su boxeo, ya vamos a descifrar, tanto tú como Yuquita, como todo lo que esté en mi esquina, vamos a descifrar el tiro que traiga Truman para pelear conmigo, y nosotros nomás tenemos que hacer el trabajo fuerte arriba acá en el gimnasio para arriba ser más fácil y que ustedes me guíen a la victoria.
Keith Thurman, he says that whatever Keith Thurman brings to the ring wouldn't make a difference. He's ready for anything that he brings to the ring. Whatever kind of dance he wants to do in the ring, he's ready to dance with him. His corner, his team, his ability to fight will take him to the victory.
You know, I have a question here. I want to know if, Jesus, this coming weekend we have Edwin Rodriguez and Andre Ward going for the WBA Super World middleweight title. Who do you have on that fight?
¿A quién le vas a la pelea de Andre Ward?
Pues mira,
con el muchacho que pelea este fin de semana.
Cuando lo diga. Mira, para empezar quiero decir algo con todo respeto, pero no soy una aficionada al box. No veo box. No estoy al pendiente de las peleas. Puedo decir que pues para mí podría ganar a Andrew Ward, ¿no? Que es un gran peleador. Más sin embargo no soy un aficionado al boxeo.
Okay. He says, do all respect to the boxing. He doesn't really watch fights. He's not really a big fan of other fighters. He's a fan of himself. He he thinks, Andre Ward is the guy with the better experience. He thinks that he'll probably win.
Okay. Well, I'm glad he's a fan of himself. That's a good thing.
¿Qué dijo?
Dice que está bien que tú creas en tú mismo nomás y no en otros peleadores, que andes viendo otros peleadores pelear.
No, pues es que pues, hay muchos peleadores muy buenos, la verdad, pero pues yo no soy de ese. Yo levanto a correr.
There are great fighters out there, but
me levanto a correr.
One of those guys that
hago mi trabajo en el gimnasio. Hago mi trabajo en el gimnasio. Soy el boxeador, salgo del gimnasio, soy el güero, el Jesús, el Soto, conoce la gente, pero fuera boxeo.
He gets up in the morning, gets up, goes to run, comes to the gym. He's the same person all the time. It's just out of the boxing. He's Soto Karass. He's Jesús, el güero, whatever people call him. That's him. You know, he's just a normal person that comes out of the boxing.
Solo tú. All right, very good.
Dice que solo tú.
Yeah, sí, entiendes, right? Do you have anything else to say, Prophet?
No, I just wish Jesus, the best of luck.
Wait, can maybe Jesus, can you sing too?
Yeah. ¿Qué pasó?
Pablo, ask him if he can sing. Maybe he can sing Happy Birthday, Feliz Cumpleaños to Prophet.
Debería pasar, creo que no. Para mí, porque no me regalo que fue de Happy Birthday. I wanted my present.
He said he wants his present. What do you mean Happy Birthday?
Not to him, to the Boxing Prophet. Oh. It's the Boxing Prophet's birthday today.
It's the boxing what?
Oh, para ellos.
Prophet, say hello so they know who you are. Boxing Prophet here. He was asking questions, my co-host.
Okay. El muchacho que está preguntando preguntas con ella es su cumpleaños ahora.
Okay. Pues muchas felicidades, que cumpla muchos años más.
He says happy birthday, and hopefully he'll get more years more.
More, 100, 2,000.
All I need from Jesus is a knockout of Keith Thurman, and that'll be my birthday present. That's fine.
I'm trying.
Dice que si lo que hace Keith Thurman, ese es su regalo para él.
Okay. Dile que yo voy a salir con la victoria de esa pelea, y si gano por knockout, se la voy a dedicar a él, el knockout.
He said he will be a winner that day. If he knocks him out, he'll dedicate it to you.
Wow,
I like
that's pretty special. I'm a little jealous. ¿Celosa?
Ya se puso celosa.
No, pues se ve, me estoy diciendo que es el cumpleaños de él, pues.
Okay. But, so Prophet, are you going to tell us your prophecy for his fight?
Excuse me?
I think it'll be fun, for as long as it lasts, and the key for the success for Jesus in this fight is just to lure Keith Thurman into a straight fight. Keith Thurman has never been in with a true warrior before. He lacks the big name on his resume, and I think the tougher the fight is, the better it is for Jesus. I'm not going to give my pick yet, but I like Jesus' chances, but he's got to lure Keith Thurman into a war. It's got to be a tough fight, and it's got to be in the trenches.
You have to give Pablo a second to interpret. Go ahead, Pablo. Did you understand that?
Yeah, part of it. I could barely hear him, that's why.
Don't give him room to breathe.
Excuse me?
Just don't
he wants him to be a war. Okay.
Él lo que quiere que sea una guerra la pelea, Jesús.
No,
él quiere que sea una guerra la pelea y que tienes mucha chance para ganar esta pelea. Él lo que quiere es que sea una guerra, y tú eres un guerrillero. Y más,
pues dile que de mi parte así va a ser una guerra. Va a ser que Keith Thurman se acuerde de quién es Soto Karass, de que no soy un muerto, no soy un veterano, no soy un viejo. Estoy presente en el boxeo, no soy un aficionado, pero estoy en esto, y de hace poco tiempo para acá me estoy dedicando al 100%. Estoy enfocado en lo que quiero, ser campeón mundial, y lo voy a lograr ese 14 de diciembre.
He says he will be victorious that day. He will beat Keith Thurman at whatever Keith Thurman brings to the ring. He is not the person they think he is. They think he's done. They think he's too old. They think he's not ready for somebody like Keith Thurman. Jesus been training hard for the last couple of fights. He's a different person. He's not the same person he used to be. Now he's focused. He's fighting at 100% now. And he says come December the 14th, you will see the new Soto Karass out there.
All right. Well, I'm sure we will. We'll be looking. And how can they say he's too old when he TKO'd Andre Berto? I don't understand that, but I think he's fantastic.
Pues sí, pues mucha gente... No. Yo no digo que estoy viejo. Yo para mí viejo los cerros y cada año enverdecen.
He said he doesn't feel old at all. He said it's just people talking.
Te digo, güey, que los pinches... Que viejo los cerros, pues dijimos en español, viejo los cerros y cada año enverdecen. Yo no lo digo, yo no estoy diciendo que yo estoy viejo, sino que muchos dicen que soy un veterano por boxeo.
No,
por
sí, es lo que le dije a ella, pues.
Pues dile en español, en inglés, güey, que el viejo los cerros y cada puto año enverdecen.
He said old people, the goats. The goats are old. He's not old. He said, and every year they come out alive.
Right. Jesus is 31, right? 31, and you have Bernard Hopkins, 32. Who's 48. So he's muy joven.
He's 32 years old.
Yeah, they're okay. 32. Well, you know what? You guys have been great. Pablo, you are a great interpreter. Thank you very much. Jesus. Oh, my gosh. I wish you the best of luck. Muchas gracias por todo. For the interview.
No, de nada, al contrario. Yo contento de que me tomen en cuenta en su programa de radio, y solamente hacer una invitación a toda la gente, a la que puede ir para San Antonio el 14 de diciembre, sino que la vea por Showtime, tengan por seguro que va a haber una guerra. Keith Thurman contra Soto Karass.
He's happy that you guys thought about him to put him in your show. He's real happy for that. He thanks you guys. He says, people, please tune in to the fight. If you're not able to come to San Antonio and watch this fight, it's going to be a war.
We will definitely watch the fight. I'll be yelling at the TV for him. And so, buena suerte, Jesus.
Muchas gracias, Cristi. Karass.
Karass. Darn.
No, okay. A usted, muchas gracias. Un placer estar con usted.
Okay.
Thank you for being with me, and thank you for giving me the chance to be with you guys.
Thank you very much, Jesus. Thank you very much, Pablo. We appreciate it. You guys have a good evening. We're going to go to a commercial. We'll come right back in a minute and 32 seconds.
This is Real Combat Media Radio. Check us out at realcombatmedia.com. While you're there, check out the Feed the Poor link on the bottom of every article, and you can send a donation if you're interested. That is, once again, on the bottom of every article as well as on the top of the website. If you are an MMA, boxing, or fitness business and interested in sponsoring our website or radio podcast, send us an email. Advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Once again, that is advertising at realcombatmedia.com. Make sure to check out the Real Combat Media MMA and boxing store at the top of the menu at realcombatmedia.com. We carry a collection of products. We have the Cardio Mask, which is excellent for all fighters, endurance athletes, and serious fitness enthusiasts. Once you are in the Real Combat Media store, click on the banner on that page. We also carry Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is a great and natural product which activates your brain's neurotransmitters and helps you think more clearly, which improves brain function. You can also purchase the world's healthiest plant protein, which comes from hemp. There are many other products online on the online store, and click on the On It banner at the Real Combat Media store and you can purchase Alpha Brain and other health products. Use the discount code Real Combat Media and you will receive 10% off at the checkout store on the On It, that is ONNIT, on the banner at Real Combat Media store. Buckle up, here we go. Let's get this show started.
Welcome back to Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. This is episode 35. I'm still your host, Christy Rosario, here with the birthday boy, Mr. Richard Solomon, the boxing prophet. You can always call us at 347-324-5998. You can Twitter us at Real Combat Media. My Twitter is Boxing Girl, BXINGIRL. and at the Boxing Prophet 68, or find us on Facebook at Real Combat Media in the search bar. After the show, you can still listen on YouTube, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, and RealCombatMedia.com. So we are back. We've had great interviews today. I've loved it. How you doing there, Prophet, birthday boy?
I'm doing great. It's been a great show. Got a shout-out from Jesus Soto Karass, Jack Reiss, very knowledgeable ref. Loved every minute of it. And, you know, Marlen is going to represent the Olympic boxing team in 2016. Hopefully she'll bring home the gold. Life is good.
Yes, Marlen. She sure will. Okay, we're going to come back. We don't have a lot of time, but we want to talk about the fights. We're going to start off with Demetrius Andrade and Vanes Martirosyan. Okay, so the outcome was a, believe it or not, split decision 12th round for the vacant WBO light middleweight title, and the winner was Demetrius Andrade. Did you think that was a split decision?
I had the fight itself had split decision written all over it in terms of who I liked, you know, before they stepped into the ring. I just thought Martirosyan would be the benefactor of a politically incorrect split decision, but the right guy won the fight. I thought Boo Boo, who we interviewed last week on the show, did more than enough with his jab and his combination punching to offset Vanes' power punches. Vanes dropped him early, but he just started to believe his own press clippings, and he didn't, you know, initiate enough contact. He landed one power shot at a time, whereas Andrade landed the volume punches and just threw and outlanded him. It seemed 3-1 or 4-1. I scored the fight 7-4 with 1 round even for Andrade. I think he's very talented. He moves on. Vanes just has to throw more in combinations. I think both fighters learned a lot, and I think they'll both have their better days.
You know, I just one comment because we don't have a lot of time. I didn't like how the commentators kept putting down Vanes. I thought it was really tacky and uncalled for. You know, they were really hard on him, except for Roy Jones Jr. He was okay. Thought that was kind of lame.
They were hard on the judge that scored it for Vanes, and they were, and rightly so, because he didn't win, and they were hard on Vanes. But it's a learning experience. You know, both guys don't really have any big names on their resume, so they had the cojones to fight each other, which I think is admirable, and I think it's a growing experience for both fighters, and they'll learn.
I agree, and I can see them both keep on fighting and doing very well. But unfortunately, we have to move on. So we're here with Nonito Donaire and Victor Darchinyan, the Raging Bull. I like his nickname. The winner, surprisingly, was surprising how it ended. TKO in the 9th round. Nonito won. I thought Darchinyan did a fantastic job until he, started getting caught in the 9th. What about you?
Yeah, Darchinyan fought it very, very well. He exceeded my expectations. I thought he was past his prime. It would sort of be a walk in the park for Donaire. I think the judges got it right. 2 out of the 3 judges had Donaire winning 6-2 at the time of the stoppage. The 3rd judge had it a draw. Actually had the Raging Bull Darchinyan ahead 5-3 when he walked into that vicious left hook by Donaire. And Donaire won the fight, but I don't think he looked impressive at all. I don't think he wants any part of Rigondeaux in a rematch. I think Rigondeaux would embarrass him. And there's no one really in that division. There's no recognizable names that would excite any boxing fan in that division. I think Donaire needs to step up in weight class because there aren't very recognizable champions in that division. But I thought, Donaire won the fight, but, coming off the loss to Rigondeaux, to me it was his 2nd straight unimpressive performance. He had to rally from behind to beat Darchinyan. He got the W, but he didn't impress me that much.
All right, you have a minute left, and I have to end the show soon. So Mikey Garcia, Roman Martinez. Mikey Garcia KO'd Roman Martinez in, the 8th round, okay? Mikey Garcia did go down in the 2nd round with what a great straight right punch, but I can't get into it. Go ahead, real quick. And then your pick for Ward and Rodriguez.
Yes, Roman Martinez scored the flash knockdown, but Mikey Garcia dominated, every other round, looked good. He'll learn from his flash knockdown, but I thought he was great, and hopefully he can fight. They talked in the post-fight interview about fighting Uriorkis Gamboa next. That would be a great fight to see.
All right. What's your pick? Quickly, Andre Ward, Edwin Rodriguez.
Not even in the same stratosphere. Andre Ward is top 2, top 3, pound for pound. He puts on a clinic, wins 11 out of the 12 rounds, and or stops Rodriguez in round 10. Easy night for Andre Ward.
All right. Have a very happy birthday. Thank you for being on your birthday. We will return next week, of course. This has been another great show. I really enjoyed speaking to Marlen Esparza and Jack Reiss and Jesus Soto Karass. I keep saying his name wrong, sorry. We will be back next Tuesday, 4 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, with episode 36. Special thanks to Sue Fox, WBAN.org. Thank you for joining us on Real Combat Media Boxing Radio. Have a fantastic week.